Hi guys, I'm Auditya Venkatesh. I'm a travel photographer. And today I'm going to talk a bit about what was my biggest failure in life. We hear so often about successes and all the things that go great that we never get to sort of see and share the things that go behind that make somebody, follow their dreams and what they've been through. And I start with a nice image that I've taken because if my talk goes bad, at least I can take nice photos. So I started my journey from the time I've actually made decisions by myself, which was about when I was 16 or 17. One thing that I've always loved doing is sort of being independent. I have great parents, I have a great family, but I would have loved to take my own decisions on a lot of things. So when I was in college, there were these odd event management jobs that I started doing, and that was the period of liability-free pocket money because my dad's a finance guy, and he wanted accounts of my pocket money and where I spent it. He wanted to balance at the end of the month. So I was so happy to be able to do these jobs. I've done everything, sort of distribute leaflets on the road, hold up banners, telecalling. If you've received annoying calls from people from Bangalore, at some point it will be in me. But I've done all of those things. And it was good because I'm somebody who thinks that any job that is keeping you happy at that time is great. I don't think we're not meant to be something. Whatever we make of the situation is what we end up being. So funny story. So my spelling is Auditya. You must have read. It's not some cool thing that I made to be Audi. And I said this joke before, but I don't know if my dad really is serious about it, but he put audit in my name. And which is what I went on to study as well. I went on to study to be a CA because he always thought it's a good path. And quite often we end up blaming our parents for the decisions they make us take. From those hideous clothes they made us wear when we were kids that we are embarrassed to show when we grow up, to some of the decisions like this. But think of it in this way. I mean, initially when I was really, angry, frustrated teenager saying, "Oh, you made me do CA," and I hate it. But think of it that's what they wanted for you, and from what they know, that's the best option. My dad's a finance guy, and he thought CA was good. It'll pay my bills and keep me happy. It's sort of like teaching your parents how to use a smartphone. Till they really understand how it works, they hate it. So what I ended up doing with my life is sort of something they hated till they got a hang of it. As a CA, what you're supposed to do is you give your exam and then you have to work under CA for 3.5 years, which I did. I was reasonably okay at doing it. I wasn't bad at the job, it's just I didn't enjoy doing too much of it. I did a lot of stuff, and luckily for me, my dad's always sort of been along with the finance guys, also being a very sort of, your communication must be strong kind of guy, so I was able to communicate well. So that helped me sort of do well in my job on a daily basis, which my CAs really liked. But at one point I started figuring my life to be in boxes. I was stuck in a cubicle, stuck on a computer, another box, and Excel sheets. Just a life of boxes is all I was leading. Which is when you start thinking, right? Which is when you start thinking about what am I really doing with my life? It's situations like this that really make you think. And that's what I ended up doing as well. I was really saturated with the job I was doing. I was doing it as a pure mechanical process and something that didn't appeal to me. And that at that point was my sort of first failure, is I dropped out. I know dropout is made to be a very cool thing. It's just a failure to complete something. So it's not something I'm proud of, it's something that I had to do. So then I was jobless and aimless in life. I didn't really know what to do, as we all feel at some point in time. And then I sat and I looked at the different things I was good at. Sadly, there wasn't too much. I went back to this. This is the first picture I ever took. This was when I was 8 years old. And ever since then, I've always been taking pictures. I've always been fond of pictures, what they do, how much they can convey, without even saying much at all. That's my mom and sister in Kodaikanal. And this got me thinking, because photography is something that I've always done. And like I said before, I don't think we're all meant to be something. We may sort of lean towards a few things, but if you don't work hard at it, you're not going to be anything at all. Right? None of us was suddenly born with the skill to get out and do something really great. So that's what I took, and that's the line, I really believe it. So I said, maybe this is something that I should explore. But quite often people forget how much hard work it is to be, just do anything by yourself, and something that is considered to be off the beaten path. And that was a sort of tough job for me to learn the entire thing. And back then social media sort of wasn't what it is today. It wasn't as easy to access people either. So I started trying to reach out to people, learning as much as I could from Google. I didn't go study photography at that point of time because the decision of dropping out was a conscious decision that I made. So my parents could afford me going to photography school, but I couldn't. So I said, you know what, if I cannot pay for it right now, that's not what I'm going to do. So I decided to just learn things by myself. One of the things that I did was I really wanted to see how it is professional photographers interact with their clients. What do they do? What makes them great photographers? So I looked a few up. I called a few of my friends who are model coordinators and said, if you need an extra on set, just let me know. You see this guy in the red circle? That's me. So what I did, because it was so hard to get access to photographers, I ended up going there as a model and being in these shots. But what that gave me time was to sort of look at these people and learn from what they're doing, what makes them a professional photographer, what makes them tick. And a lot of times, the minute you get to talk to them and they understand you're interested in something as well, they're more than free to talk to you. So after a couple of shoots, I took back my images to them. I asked them if it's okay to bring my photos. I took it to them. And I got some of the most important advice that I did related to photography, and that's probably generally applicable, which is, yes, you have a few good photos, yes, some not so great photos, but what is it that you like to shoot? Why are you shooting? That's something that I don't understand from these images. And I didn't have an answer to that either. So he said, you have to understand that everybody is drawn to something. Now, just as when you're starting out with photography, what you end up doing is you look at all these beautiful images on the internet and you try to replicate them, which is a great tool to learn, which is a great tool to try and fail and then learn and get learning from it. But that's not what is going to make you a photographer. It's what is it that you want to tell about the same thing that somebody else has clicked in a different way that will make you a good photographer. So I took that learning and started, once I understood everything that I needed to be a professional, I started also making money. So my dad, who was very unhappy with me up until this point, started getting better in 3 stages. First was when he heard good things about me and my work from his peer group, which is always great for any parent. 2, when I paid my first taxes. He was the happiest guy. Finance guy, when his son is paying taxes, he loves it. He filed my first income tax return as well. And when I got my first office space, because up until that point, he was saying, so what am I going to tell my friends? What am I going to tell your family? Where does your son work? He gets up from his bed, goes to his computer and he works, goes back to his bed, and he's back home. So once I got my office, he was extremely happy as well. Like I said, it's a smart food thing. They don't understand what a home office can be. So I was there, and over time I sort of realized why I love photography as well. Earlier I was telling you, everybody is keen about shooting something, and that comes from your upbringing and kind of experiences that you have had in life. We as a family, so my dad used to travel a lot on work, and he would come back home from the estates, and he would just say, you know what, let's leave tonight. We'd have school, whatever. He said, you know what, I'm your dad. I make the decisions, not your school. So he would just take us out for 3-4 days, and that's the thing that we always did as a family, because we got such little time together. Whenever we did, we always traveled together. And my love for travel photography comes from there, because of how much I captured on these journeys with my family. But I began to love so much, and I started getting to do that. New people, new experiences, new places, and it was something that I was really enjoying doing. And I was making money as well, so I thought, you know what, life is in a good place. But just when you're thinking that, you also realize that once you start doing something again and again, and that's another problem that people face as well. They say, you know what, I took up photography and I thought it would be really interesting, but it feels like a job. Which it is. If you're doing something professionally, it is a job. So I had a tough time coping with that. So while I was making money, people were hearing about my work, saying nice things about me, the things I initially set out to do with photography, which was travel more and just shoot a lot more personal work, took one step back. So I was doing really well professionally, but the idea with which I started was taking the back seat. But it was fine. So it was a conscious decision at one point to sort of stop a few of the commercial things that I was doing, try and draw that balance in my life, and put together a plan where I bring both things together. As luck would have it, it did happen. So in 2014, in December, actually in September, so I was on a TV show in 2013, and the director of that show, who had seen my work, called me up and said, you know what, we need people to shoot a TV show for Discovery with John D. Rhodes in South Africa. Are you willing to come along? I said, drop everything I have, I'm coming. Like, I didn't even complete explaining what it was. I was like, yes, I'm coming. The dates are blocked. He said, I didn't even tell you what the dates are blocked. I'm coming. So, I mean, there's an image of me from there. And at this time, I really thought, you know what, it's all come back together. I mean, it was a paid project. It was really good work. And it was in sync with the personal work that I was getting to do. Right? So, I mean, there I was. I had my real big failure. And then I stuck with it though. I mean, it was a hard journey, but I stuck with it. And I managed to get where I belong. And in that time, so this is where you can go, ooh, Because I don't have any jokes in one-liners, please. So I mean, that's all of us in South Africa shooting, and I'd gotten to, over my time as a photographer, travel to great places and shoot a lot of photos that I love. And these are some of those photos. I've got to work with great people like Usain Bolt. I've got to shoot people like this. And yes, that's exactly it. But yeah, so as a photographer, I was really lucky to, to be able to be a part of all these moments and to be able to capture, and be as lucky to have me doing what I love and enjoying it. But just when you think everything is going great, the first failure was not what I was here to talk about. It's something that nobody knows about me. Very few people. I think I've spoken about this just once before. And it's something that changed me completely, and it broke me down and tested the apps. We were watching a thing about grit. It absolutely tested my grit. So this is when we were in South Africa and all the good times we were having. So watch this video. Okay. So this is a hotel this is on the 6th day when we were in Cape Town. You will see something interesting happen. So I kept our luggage where we were supposed to in the hotel, and we had a breakfast, and I was taking a video shot. You see this guy walking here? He is walking out with my bags. So all the equipment, he stole my bags. So all the equipment I had, my laptop, my hard drives, my cameras, my lenses, that guy. He comes back and takes all of it. So I take a video, it was a funny video that I was shooting. I came back and suddenly I can't find my bags. And I thought initially, you see all the bellboys moving, see there they're walking out again with the rest of my bags. And you see all of this was our equipment that was kept outside, and the ones inside got stolen. So it was sort of something that I couldn't understand initially, and then you see me running around wearing like red and red, very flashy. You'll see me running around after a while, looking for my luggage. I go up and down, round and round. You see me running now. There we go. Because at this point I can't understand, because I'm still in a state of shock. I just thought, those guys have probably misplaced my bags and taken and put it in the trailer, which they're not supposed to. At that point I was still worried about my cameras getting squished with the heavier luggage. I didn't know I would never get to see them again. So that I am still trying to look for it, not finding it. But then it hit me about what really happened. Every single thing that I owned to do with photography up until that point was gone. Everything. And that's lakhs and lakhs worth of rupees. And that's not counting the value of all the footage that I had, not from the show, but all the personal footage that I shot before I left. I was shooting for a particular travel show that I was doing by myself. All of it was gone. It still didn't hit me on day one. By the end of day one, South Africa has some great wines, so that helped me a lot. But then when you wake up the next day with a headache and you realize the things that have happened to you, it absolutely shattered me. Because what ended up happening was, the reason I did this was I love travel, I love photography. At this point, I started getting travel and I couldn't take any pictures. That's the kind of state of mind I was in. And in fact, right after this happened, I had to make a decision between either staying back in Cape Town and figuring out what happened to my bags, or leaving with the crew and continuing to shoot, or be with them at the shoot as it was happening elsewhere. And I chose, thankfully, at that time to do the latter, because I was there on professional duty. And those are the kind of decisions that it teaches you to make. I thought it was right for me at that point of time to continue being with the crew. I'm not sure if I was of much help to them given my state of mind, but I made that decision. So I had nothing left to do, so I thought, or game. I came back to Bangalore. I was locked myself in my bathroom and cried all night. I've called my mom and cried, and then she's done the same thing she used to do to console me when I was a kid. All those things. I mean, I was absolutely an unimaginable mess. And I came back, and then I realized I had also taken up assignments after I came back from South Africa, which I had to then cancel. Which then meant returning all the fee that I had in advance, returning all the money that I had there, having to pay off people whose time also with those shoots I had booked at the same time, and having to find alternate people in short notice and having to pay them extra to cover up for me. So at this point, I thought I had nothing left to lose, but I lost a lot more. But somewhere along the way, I still didn't understand how I'm really going to compensate for this thing or what's going to happen. But I sort of went back to photography. So One thing that I've always advocated for is shooting on your phones, because I think it keeps it simple, it keeps it basic, and you continue enjoying to do things in the most basic way. So I continued to shoot images on my phone as and when I had time. And these are all images that I shot on my phone during that time. But then every now and then you would get, this sort of reminder, like, have you lost your camera? Why are you only shooting on your phone? And that would send me back into my shell and be extremely depressed. Because obviously I hadn't told anybody about it. I'm pretty sure that that person didn't mean it with the bad intentions, because they would put that tongue smiley that I hate so much. But I'm sure they mean with a bad intention, but it brought those memories back. Every single time it did, it would break me even more. And I really thought it can't get any worse at this point of time. I can't really, I couldn't even think, I wouldn't even get up. I kept making excuses every day. For 6-7 months, I don't know how my family or my friends put up with me, which is also was a very good important lesson for me at that point of time, because I was lucky enough in the decisions that I've made and whatever values my parents taught me, or whatever what they said, I managed to understand that I made great friends over time. Friends who, in this time, while most people would just call and say, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, or somebody would mock it. So there were those friends who would just call me up and say, what do you need to get done? Let's get you through this thing. Let's not even get you to think about this. They would come, and this is in Bangalore. They would drive through Silkport Junction, which is like a black hole, like 1 hour traffic jams, 2 hour traffic jams, to come to my place every day to take me out, just so I could be away from this whole thing. And I was lucky that I had that support, because otherwise I was really flipping out. And I started making excuses for not doing work. I stopped taking up assignments completely. I was just staying at home throughout. And I was giving an excuse for everything. Why not waking up early? Or what happened to me. Why did you have breakfast? Or what happened to me. Why did you leave the toilet seat up? Or what happened to me. See, I used the rule of thirds. What he said, you see, the comedian earlier. So, but then in September of 2015, which is now it's been almost a year from this incident, so you can imagine how long I was in that rut. I went to Nepal, so somebody called me to document a village that had gotten beaten down in the earthquake. And the day we got there, we didn't really get to see much, because we got there extremely late at night. The entire village stayed up for us. It's called Sorpani in Nepal. And we just stayed up at night, partied. They have this incredible drink called Rakshi that they make, local drink. We had a lot of that drink. We didn't sleep all night, as you can see in this, you can tell from our faces. Then we walked around in the morning, and then everybody in the village was inviting us to come and have milk from their cows specifically. So we probably had a 2 liter of milk around that day. And then, because it was dark all night, we didn't really get to see much. And then the next morning is when we got to see the absolute amount of damage. In this village, I think there were about 24 homes or something of that sort. All but one were broken down in the earthquake. About 7-8 people lost their lives. And this is the state that the entire village is in. They were all living in aluminium shelter homes. This used to be a school. There were about, I think, from 8 different villages around, people come here for the school, and this was the state that the school was in. And then at this point of time, it really hit, that's all the people of the village. And at this point is where it really hit me. That I was sitting there giving myself excuses and making up problems in my own head about things that I have faced and how bad it's been for me. When I had a loving family at home, I had a shelter over my head, I still drove a car. What did I have go back for me? I mean, at that point of time, you start thinking, I'm not saying you have to compare somebody else's problem with yours for you to know how much better you are. But you learn from that, see, people are smiling despite what they've been through. There are people whose families went away in front of their eyes, who are smiling, who are hosting, who are so nice and warm to you. And then you start thinking, what about my life am I complaining? Which is when I sort of completely took inspiration from that and started bringing myself back to normal. I shared this story with a lot of people of what happened in Nepal. I sort of spoke to myself a lot and tried to help. I may go slightly over time. Is that fine? Okay. So yeah, I mean, but that one experience made me realize so much and about why it is important for us to also share these stories that you've been through, because I'm sure nobody here knows about this thing. Even the people who have probably followed my work don't know about this thing happening, because I didn't want to talk about it till I was in a place where I was okay sharing the story. But then I realized maybe I've delayed that story by a year, because there were people who were going through it at the same time who maybe this would have helped. And which is the reason why I'm sharing the story now as well, because I'm sure that, and the last time I did, I had 4 people come up to me and say they lost different things at different points of time that, that they were completely broken about, and the fact that I was deciding to share their story made them want to then talk about it to other people as well. So, random quote with the picture that fits perfectly for it. But like I said, life happens and it's not always how we hoped it to be, but then you just have to make the best of it and not make excuses, because now, in retrospect, when I think of it, sure, I learned a lot from that experience, but I wasted a year not doing anything at all when I could have done more in that same time. And the one thing that we have, which is limited, which we don't know how much we're ever going to have, is time. And the more amount of time you spend worrying about things that you can't have any control over, the lesser control you have over your own life. And I'm just going to end with this. So, about why, despite this entire thing happening, I've still managed to stay with photography. What's the first thing you do around New Year's? Get a gym membership. So I went to the gym. You'll be pleased to know I've gone 4 times in 5 months. But I got a gym membership. And as I walked into the gym, I got into the lift. And this spoke to me for a reason, I'll tell you why. Lift and a gym already, you see the problem. This is the ground floor, obviously. The gym is on the 2nd floor. And the other one that's white there on the right extreme is the fan. So people who go to the gym to sweat, work out and lose weight, take from 0 to 2, and they need the fan in that much time. That is literally 5 seconds. Because we're so focused on what we're doing, we end up forgetting why we're doing it. And it's very similar to what we end up doing. If it was just about photography and having a camera and taking photos, I would have given up long back. But it's because I enjoyed the whole experience of photography that I stuck to it. Like, I know it was a bad phase, but I stuck through it and I managed to come out of it and continue doing what I want. So after this, I decided, what the hell am I doing? I got out, walked up 2 floors, the gym was closed. So I took the lift back down. There's no gym that day. But yeah, so I mean, I'm around and we can talk about this later on and have questions. Sorry I went overboard. But I mean, that's the one thing that I have to share, guys, that if you think you're having it bad, there are more people out there who are having it worse than you. For the fact that we're all getting to sit here in this part, we're already pretty lucky to have people around us who can understand, people who care about stories and want you to learn from other people. And just share your experiences. I'm sure it'll help somebody out. And that's the reason I'm doing this. So, thank you and all the best.